Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our 5th annual Big Give. We have been so busy today talking to such amazing people, and I'm really excited to bring on one of our partners through our Deep Connections is Gabi. And Gabi has a son, and she started an organization called Wishes for Elliot. So first tell us about Wishes for Elliot, and then let's talk about Deep Connections and why that makes us partners.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me with you guys today. I am so blown away by everything that the team at Duke 15Q does and how well you guys do it. And we're so thrilled to be partnering with you all, you know, on so many different things and just to see the work that you do. I'm Gabi. I live in Washington, D.C., and I have a 9.5-year-old son, Elliot, who has a sister disorder, right? SCN8A DEE. And when we got his diagnosis, when he was about 15 months old, they basically handed us the article, the one article that existed, right? And they said, we have no idea. We don't know if he's going to live, if he's going to die, if he's going to get better, if he's going to get worse. And my husband and I were sitting in the room with my mother, who's, if anybody knows Wishes for Elliot, knows Jada is this other fierce advocate behind the work we do. We were just totally shell shocked, but immediately jumped into, well, that's insane. What do you mean you don't know anything? But we got to do something. So we started this foundation, Wishes for Elliot, that really has been working in the last 8 years to advance the science and the research and the understanding around SCN8A. So, we hold scientific meetings and we do a lot of education with families around the genetics. So and we do that in partnership. We have another group called the International SCN8A Alliance that we work with a geneticist who discovered the disorder to do family education. But I think some of the most important work that I also do is this cross DEE work, right? And I know DEE is still a term that people are kind of becoming a little bit more familiar with. And what it actually stands for is developmental and epileptic encephalopathy. So I most of the time don't say it well because I trip over the words because it's so hard to say, but that basically means that somebody has a disorder that's characterized both by seizures, oftentimes which are drug resistant, meaning that our kids or our loved ones don't get better when we put them on drugs, or they often return. But then they also have this term encephalopathy, which means that they have developmental delays or a regression of delays in some cases. So that's where the name Deep Connections came from. It's DEE for developmental and epileptic encephalopathy, and then P is the project. And so we started that with Duke 15Q was one of our first founding partners when we founded about 2.5 years ago. And the idea was really to work together to share the resources that we have and to bring resources to the community, really that would help to provide resources and information to improve the quality of life of families and empower families to understand maybe what's going on with their kid, how to get help, how to ask for help, and a place to search for answers. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that part of your mission is that, to have a D isn't specific to a syndrome. If your child's having seizures and they're developmentally delayed and medication resistant, so often they have LGS, it's almost like a pile of all of these diagnoses, but it's not siloed to Duke15q syndrome. It's not siloed to SCN8A. It's not siloed to all of these. So why are we all putting forward effort into looking for resources and programs that is the same for everyone? So that's what I love so much about your mission, and your goal is to connect all of these organizations who are fighting the same battle and looking for the same resources and looking for the same support. You guys have such wonderful webinars that you put up, informational webinars that would apply to many of our community members. We share them on our calendar. So if any of our family members are watching, please go to our Duke 15Q Alliance calendar called All Events, and you'll see the webinars that Deep Connections has, and you're more than welcome to join any of them. And then you also have your resource library. So previous webinars they can get onto, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Do you want me to walk people through? You want me to show people? Do you think that would be
Yeah,
helpful?
let's do that.
Okay, cool. So I have it pulled up already, just in
Let
case.
me make sure I'm give you, can you share? Let me
Yeah,
see. Yeah.
looks like it.
All right.
A little finicky. So while I'm trying to get there, yeah, so the idea is that all of the webinars that we do, we record them and we put them into our resource center so that they can be there in perpetuity for families who are looking for an answer. And the idea really is that this becomes a kind of hub. I think anybody who's watching this this live with us, or recorded for that matter, and knows about DEE 15Q or any of these other DEEs, has been Googling in the middle of the night trying to figure out what's going on with my kid. And you put these symptoms in and you're like GI, discomfort, crying, pain, you know, all these things. And you're like, what's the answer? And and that's what drove me to you know, start DEEP, was that it was just feeling like I was isolated even within my own disorder, you know, where there's so many different kinds of kids that, you know, my son is nonverbal, he doesn't walk, he doesn't eat by mouth, he is, you know, severely hypotonic, he's 60 pounds but he's still working on head control. So just, you know, these kids that are struggling with so many different systems in their body and so many challenges, and as caregivers, the challenges that we have. And so that's why we started DEEP, to kind of work together to manage these issues. So you can see this, you can search kind of by different kind of categories, but I often direct people to start up here. We have medical issues. So we have SUDEP, you know, what is a VNS or a DBS or an RNS? Oops, I guess I'll go to that one because my computer decided to take me there. So, so you'll see we have it kind of set up here like this. We have webinars and different tools and resources from our experts that they've given us, and some different articles if you're interested in reading what the research says. And then if you click here, that takes you to the webinar itself that you can watch that's recorded.
We were actually just on with a mom earlier today talking about her son's VNS. So that is very,
okay.
It is quite common in our community.
Yeah, and and you can see here we get these really amazing people from top-notch hospitals, from research institutions. We work closely with the NIH, with Cure Epilepsy, Epilepsy Foundation. So we really pull on the resources of the entire community to try to bring this critical information to families. So I'm going to take you to another example, which is the series that we're in the middle of doing right now on different kinds of therapies, right? And I have loved this series because we often try to also give some, shed some light on what it's like to have a really more severely affected kid, because it's a little bit harder to find information about those really severely affected kids. So we have this series. These last two were with a speech language pathologist talking about augmentative communication therapies and devices. And then the first three were led by a physical therapist talking about these terms that we hear all the time, like ataxia, hypertonicity, apoptosis. She talked about the different kinds of equipment that are out there. We did an overview of hypotonia, which was amazing. And you know, we bring in people that get it. We don't try not to like bring in people who don't really know this community at all. We bring in people who see our kids, do research with our kids, understand the challenges that we face. Yeah.
I just want to point out to our DEE 15Q community to show just how relevant a lot of these things are to our community. Because I often think sometimes, you know, we're like, nope, my child has DEE 15Q and this is the resources. And sometimes you don't think the other ones are relevant to you. But I believe we're playing it later tonight with Dr. Shefali Jeste and Charlotte. They talk about our kids' hypotonia and that is what's affecting their development. That's affecting their speech. That's affecting a lot of the things. And so having, you know, we have that from our own experts, and you're seeing it from another reference saying, yes, this is exactly what's happening, and going into more detail on it. All of these things are very, very relevant to our community as well.
Yeah, and I think in almost all of our webinars too, we have community, I mean, caregiver voices that come in. So we have families from across the spectrum, right? So we have an SCN2A family or an LGS family or, you know, a Do15Q family. I mean, Ember's been on webinars with us too, you know, so sharing their insights on the topic at hand. So hopefully you can see your story reflected in what we're doing, the work that we're you know, what we're talking about that particular day. And then I'll just share people here. If you just happen to cross by, it sounds like, I know that you guys do a great job of kind of putting what's coming up too on your calendars, but this is, we're still working on our fall schedule, but you can come here and find, you know, what webinars are coming up and register just by clicking on any of those.
Yeah, I in particular, I watched those on the that a speech language pathologist presented those two, and I had even texted Nika and I said, oh my gosh, the speech language pathologist is fabulous. She's like, get her name. What? Who is? Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful. I can't tell you how many times I go to your website, you know, just for myself, you know, and of course sharing all with our community too, because there's so much overlap.
Yeah, and this series, which is amazing, our partners at CAC and 1A brought to us. It's actually the physical therapist who led the first 3 sessions is a CAC and 1A mom, grandmother, excuse me, who just happened to have a grandchild who was affected by CAC and 1A, but has been for, I don't know how many years, I'm not going to overage her, 20, 30 years, something like that, been working with this community. And she's just brilliant. And she shows videos and she talks about, you know, and all of these therapists, they talk about our kids the way we talk about our kids, right? They don't say, oh, they can't do this and they can't do this. They say they can do this. This is what they can do. This is where their current level is at, but let's try to move towards building that skill, which I think is really important when we're talking about kids in our community, that we use the right language, right? That we remain hopeful and don't leave our kids out of the equation when we're talking about any of these topics.
Yeah, don't underestimate any of our kids and any of their abilities. I feel like as soon as we do, they surprise us, right? And you're like, you know what? You
and
can do that.
They're listening. Because there's
yes.
some, you know, just because Brendan may not have words, I mean, his receptive language is so much higher than his expressive. And so we play on that, you know, and we see his little eyebrows raise, or he waves, and, you know, it's all communication.
Oh, yeah.
There was something he did not that long ago, Ember. I cannot remember what it was, but I was talking to Carrie about it, is that he did something that he used to do because he's lost some skills. And he did something that he used to do, or something you were saying, and he did it. And you were like, what? And I was like, I told you he's listening. He knows everything that you're telling me. Like he remembers it, but I cannot remember what it was.
No, I remember because Carrie was like, that's amazing. Like, you know, she's such a cheerleader. She's like, Ember, he is so smart. Yeah, they're amazing. And that's why I always tell people, you know, talk to Brett. He understands you. You know, you don't have to talk louder. You don't have to, you know.
You don't have to get in his face.
No, you don't. Yeah. Just respect, right?
I think the term they always use is presume competence, right? Presume, right? Presume that they can understand, that they can do, that they can, and then you engage with them like that, right? You don't just, you know, I mean, like with Elliot, we always try to, you know, he's got visual impairment and he's very, you know, he can't grasp things. So like before we brush his teeth, we let him feel it. It's always the same toothbrush and it feels the same. This is the bumpy one, right? And these are the bristles. And now we're going to brush your teeth. And so that you're not just constantly doing things to, right? You're doing things with, you're engaged, you know?
Yes.
But it's hard to, you know,
that's so true.
Of engaging with the world, right? I mean,
And the other thing that I want to point out to our community and to all like your communities as well is that I think the more that our organizations partner together, the further we're going to go. You know, I think, you know, as genetic testing gets more prevalent and we're finding more diagnosis and we're finding more genetic variants, you know, we all our parents are the best advocates. We will dig deep and we will figure it out and we will do everything we can to give our kids the best future that they're able to attain. And so I think as we're all growing in a rare genetic disorder, the more we partner, the further we're going to go together. And I just love the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're so thrilled to have partners like you all. And it's true, you know, there's so much work to do. Let's not do the same thing over and over again for every disorder, right? Where we don't have to. So that's
Yeah.
really the idea. And it works because we have strong partners. So.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll post, we've posted some of the links. We'll continue to share them. I just want to remind everybody that our goal today is to raise $50,000 to get our board's $50,000 match. So then we would have $100,000 to go to our Ladder Learning Network. I just checked our numbers and we are about 40% to our goal of $50,000, and we still have about, what, 6 hours left, 5 hours left. I don't even know what time it is anymore.
I don't
We've been up so early.
Yeah.
We still have time is what I'm
Let's do it.
saying. We got time. So thank you to everybody that's donated. If you're not able to donate, you know, if you could like, share, comment, it really helps our Facebook algorithm so that more people can see the information that we're putting forward. And you can always do a Facebook fundraiser. It takes 2 clicks. You create a fundraiser, and then your supporters who support you and your family can help support the Ladder Learning Network. So thank you again, Gabi.
Yeah, great to
Take
see
care,
you
guys.
guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye.